So here we are with Scotty Boom Boom Malone. How are we doing?
Not too bad, mate. Yourself?
Yeah, all good, fella. All good. How are you finding lockdown? You managed to train all right? Everything?
No. I'm not coping very well, to be honest with you. I'm not one of these guys that can get up and do a home workout because I've got two crazy kids in the house, so it kind of makes it really difficult. But I do have a gym, so I have been going through there every now and again to get some training in. But to be honest with you, I've been pretty lazy.
What's your diet looking like at the minute? What are you saying?
Well, it's not great. Let's just say that.
That's it. So there's loads of reasons why I wanted to get you on today. A big thing was the whole judo background. How did you get into that and then transition to MMA? So talk me through the start of it then. How did you get into martial arts as a whole?
I was at school, and one of the women, one of these, like a woman that I know, Mary, and her name is, she came into our school and she just gave like a little speech, just basically telling us kind of what judo was, but we still had no really idea what it was. Then all my friends were like, right, we're going to judo. It's the first night tonight. So they went along and I never went along the first night. I was like, fuck that judo stuff. Just thinking it was instantly like karate, like judo chops. So they ended up getting, they're like, come along, it's great. So I ended up going along after about a month of it being open. I went along for, I'd say about 6 weeks, and I was by far the smallest guy there.
Okay, so went on a hold for a second there. So you were saying you went to judo, you're the smallest guy there.
Yeah, so I kept getting thrown on the head, so I decided to quit. I was like, nah, this is not for me, just because I was the smallest guy. I didn't enjoy it at first, and then friends are like, mate, the coach was saying that you're really, really good, so you should come back. He said, obviously you're a lot smaller, but you're really good, obviously at judo. So they ended up, maybe about 3 weeks later, I ended up going back, and I just started to fall in love with it at a young age. I think I was 10 or 11, I think I was 11-year-old. I think I was just going into first year, or I don't know what you call that, year 9 or something. First year up here in Scotland. So once I got into that, and then a year later I started competing, and that was it. Once I started winning gold medals, that was me hooked for life.
So what was the transition then? So regards of you're doing these sort of local competitions, you're doing quite well, to then go to Commonwealth Games. What was the transition to that like?
So obviously, for judo you mean?
Yeah.
Or to MMA?
From judo competing, getting your gold medals, then go to Commonwealth level.
Yeah, so obviously all these gold medals are these are all small competitions, like just like area competitions that we call mini ones. So it's like the first ones were like orange belt and below, and then you started getting to like things like the Scottish Championships. And the first Scottish Championships I was supposed to be going to, I ended up breaking my wrist. And the guy from my club that actually went, that I used to beat all the time, like used to throw him about in training, he ended up getting like a bronze medal. So I was totally gutted because I broke my wrist and I didn't get to fight. But then the following year, I got to go to the Scottish Championships, ended up winning gold. And that was like my first Scottish Championships. And then I ended up, after I won the gold there, I went to the British and I won silver at the British Championships. And then the next year I won a gold, and the next year I won a gold, and I just kept on winning and kept on winning. I didn't win all the time at every competition, but I was always medaling at things. And so basically from there I used to go, like I would train abroad, would go to basically like fight camps abroad. I've been to Canada. I've been to pretty much any country that you mentioned in Europe. I've been there competing, and I was winning medals and stuff abroad. So that's why I think I actually quit judo for a little bit. I went to the Commonwealth. I won. This was in 2006. Won the gold medal in the Commonwealth. Won it in 2006. In 2008, I think it was meant to be in Mauritius. I missed the competition, and they actually ended up taking one of the younger guys, and that was sort of me. I was like, fuck the coaches, pretty much. Basically, kind of fell out with everybody not fell out with everybody, but fell out with that coach at Judo because they took the younger guy because it was basically cheaper for them to take them. And that guy ended up getting, he got a bronze or something when I'd won it the year before. So that's when roughly around maybe a year later I started up MMA. And once I started MMA, I started to get a feel for like training again, because I was pretty much doing nothing. I was going to the gym. I was just trying to put on as much muscle as possible. I think I came back. I used to fight under 60 kilos, and I came back and I was like, I think it was 72.5 kilos or something. I think I put on 9 kilos, something like that. But yeah, that's kind of how I got into that. And then when I came back, it was just kind of a comeback to go back to win it again in 2012. But yeah, that was kind of how the story of Judo began. It was at the same sort of time how MMA started as well for me.
So with the competing in Judo and everything, was there much weight cutting? Like, how were you like on like competition days? Because were you quite a nervous person? Are you quite composed in the day? Like, talk us through that kind of thing. Because you sort of almost flippantly say, "Oh, Commonwealth gold, yeah, that's that." You don't no real build up of how you felt. Like, you know, just I just did it. You know, it's one of those things. Just woke up and then fancied it that day.
Yeah, well, I was never really nervous at Judo, to be honest. I think it's a lot more relaxed than like an MMA fight. You've not got the lights off for one. You've not got everybody staring at you. Obviously, you've got people looking at you, but there's still another maybe 2 or 3 mats. I don't know if you've ever been at a Jiu-Jitsu competition or whatever. It's the same sort of idea, you know what I mean? So it's a lot different to competing in a cage, but like I really enjoyed Judo, and it's made me the person that I am through MMA. But I just get so much more of a buzz doing MMA.
So with your previous Judo training then, do you still train it now in your current camps?
No, I've not done Judo for, I'd say maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. Kind of had a lot of falling out with my boss at the time. I was still coaching it for years. Even when I was doing MMA, I was still coaching Judo. So I started another job as a scaffolder, but I was doing 2 jobs at once. So I was kind of trying to balance everything. And then I sort of said, look, I'm going to maybe give up the coaching Judo for the scaffolding, because it was an apprenticeship. So I had to obviously finish that. And it kind of caused a wee bit of a rift between me and my boss, which had been my coach for years as well. So kind of had a lot of falling out. So since then, I've never really done Judo, but I have obviously reached back out to my coach, boss, and we're on speaking terms and that now. So, but it was kind of at that time, I was like, fuck him, but I could see where he was coming from at the time, you know what I mean? And I've texted him, I've apologised, I've spoke to him, met up with him and that, so everything's cool.
Well, it's good that you've had that reflection time to try and go back, because a lot of people don't have that kind of like thing about them to, you know, make amends when they feel like, you know, it's over and done with. But no, for you to go out your way, like proactively to try, you know, I've realised that I was in the wrong, and then, you know, it takes a lot to do that kind of thing. Now,
yeah,
I've had a look through your Topology before this call, and I've just got open just a reminder. So you've had a lot of cancelled bouts.
Yeah.
What's happened with this then? So I'll skim over the 2 amateur fights, then going straight to pro. We'll ignore that, but let's go to the plethora of cancelled fights. So what's happened with this then? So let's go to amateur first. So let's go to amateur first. So you've decided you want to go to MMA. Then how long have you started training before you have your first fight?
I think I was training for about a year. Trying to learn some sort of striking. Eventually decided to have an amateur fight. So at the time, an amateur fight was like A class, B class, C class. So the C class was 4-ounce gloves with no head strikes at all. So that was basically it was kind of a judo match with body strikes.
Wait a minute, so 4-ounce gloves, like proper pro gloves?
Yeah, pro gloves. This was just before it all changed. I had one fight at that. So I had 4-ounce gloves. I had a fight down in York. And and that was, I think it was 2011, 2012. So I had that fight, and it was kind of, I don't know, it was weird because I had the guy in mount, I was on mount, and obviously I couldn't strike him in the head. So I ended up, I think I won by armbar or something. And then I came back up the road, I was training again, I got offered another fight, but this was strikes to the head this time, so it was C-class, so it was puffy gloves this time. So obviously the 7-ounce gloves that they use now. I had a fight with that. That was my first time being able to punch people in the head as hard as I can, which was great. To be honest, that suited my game a lot better because I like to be on top and I like to be able to ground and pound people. So that suited me way more than having the one I had before. But I had that fight, and literally a week later I fought again. Like I got offered a fight in Leeds. I think it was at UCFC or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but I fought for a belt on a week's notice, and I ended up going down and won in the second round. And then that was it. After that, I started obviously having normal amateur fights, and I think I went 6-1 as an amateur. The only guy to beat me was Aidan Stephen, he was ranked number 1 at featherweight up in Scotland. I was ranked number 1 in bantamweight. We did a day before weigh-in, and he made bantamweight. And Aidan came away with a decision win. It was a close fight. It was a really good fight. It was an exciting fight. If you want to watch it, it's on YouTube.
Yeah, because he's Cage Warriors now, isn't he, Aidan Stephen?
Yeah, he fights now at featherweight at Cage Warriors. But yeah, it was a good fight. Me and Aidan are quite good pals now as well, so it's funny when you watch it back. But yeah, it's a really good fight.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense then, because on the Topology it says 2 amateur fights and straight to pro. I was thinking, okay, that doesn't sound like, there must be something filling in the gap somewhere. But then you've got
I think
two
a lot of the
fights
were like, yeah, a lot of them were, I think they were just sort of little shows and they didn't really have Topology or whatever. I don't know. But yeah, so 6-1 as an amateur, but two day fights were like proper amateur, no head strike.
So what was the sort of
really
defining moment where you decided you wanted to go to professional? Like, because obviously going pro is a lot more of a commitment, like going from having like a real job to then taking this more seriously, and then coming from your judo background as well. What was your initial feelings before going pro?
That was, to be honest, going pro was always the plan. I was always wanting to go pro. From the day I started doing it, I was like, I'm not stopping at this. I love this, and I'm going to give it my all because I think I've missed out a lot of things that I probably could have done at judo. You know what I mean? I think I might have been able to get to the Olympics if I really tried, but I was young and I was stupid and I wasn't really focusing on training. It was just kind of a hobby. You know what I mean? It was something that I was just doing for the sake of doing. I like doing judo, but I just don't have the same sort of passion that I've got for MMA. So when I went pro, I was actually coming off a loss. So Aidan was my last fight at amateur, and the plan was always to go pro after that fight. So we ended up getting management and stuff, and they got me a fight, and then I think the fight got cancelled, and then it got rescheduled for another person. I think it was me that maybe pulled out the first one because I was ill, and then on the next one, I think we got the fight rescheduled. We got a fight on Art of Combat, and the guy Imam Dabu, he was a total ghost. I've never heard of him since, but he was good. But at the time, his Topology was like 0-0. But I found out later that he was 3-0 as a pro.
That's a
bit. So there was something was a bit fishy going on, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? You learn from your mistakes. So that was obviously my first pro loss. I took a little break out, coming off obviously 2 losses. I was like, look, if I want to do this, I'm going to have to put in the time. I put in a bit of time, and I think I got another fight on top. I think some guy pulled out the week before. I ended up getting a replacement. I think obviously because my record was pretty shit at the start. Obviously it was like 1-1 or 2-1, and all these obviously guys were hearing that I was maybe Commonwealth champion at Judo, so they were like, it's a risky fight for them, especially with that record. You know what I mean? So I don't know why there were so many pullouts, but I was supposed to actually fight Jack Cartwright. He was one of the pullouts. He pulled out on the Thursday, the day before the fight. I think I was on weight. He pulled out, so I wasn't very happy with that. But he ended up knocking me out anyways.
Now, that's sort of something I wanted to get onto, sort of coming back from these losses and then coming back strong. Because obviously after your first pro loss, you were saying how you were like reevaluating, okay, this is what I need to do, this is where I'm at. So then you went on like was it 5-fight winning streak, 5-6 fights?
Six fights. Won 6 fights in a row, and then
big names as well.
I think it was Jack Shore.
Yeah, so talk me through the Jack Shore fight, then how you felt after that, because obviously it's a big opportunity, and then how you felt after that, and then coming back afterwards.
Yeah, so Jack Shore fight, I knew it was obviously going to be a hard fight. I knew he was the number one guy in Europe at the time. I'd say pound for pound. Like, I think he was the best guy in Europe at the time. And I knew it was always going to be a hard fight, but I genuinely felt unstoppable, and I was obviously never going to go in there thinking I was going to lose. You know what I mean?
We were looking,
and I felt that was my
especially
time.
after Josh Reed's fight as well, because you see it on your face as well, going in his hometown and like spoiling the party and everything else.
Yeah. So it was ended up. I think the Jack fight, obviously, I made a stupid mistake, and he capitalised on that, and that was it. You know what I mean? So I think I done well in the first round. Second round was a close round, and then third round he took it, and that's the game. You know what I mean? Obviously, the next fight against Jack Cartwright, again, felt like I never even got into the fight. He just caught me cold. I had a pretty bad weight cut for that fight as well. I don't know. I'm not going to make excuses, but I think if you've had a bad weight cut, I think your head's never going to recover.
How much weight did you cut that time round? What do you normally cut?
Usually, depends how fat I am at the start of camp. So sometimes I can go up to like maybe 72 kilos tops. But like now, even on lockdown, I think I'm sitting around maybe 69, 70. I went vegan, so once you go vegan, it's not hard to gain weight, but it's a lot harder to put on more weight. You know what I mean? So I just like. I was the weight cut was kind of easy, but then the last bit, I think it was like the last 0.5, and I thought I was on weight, so I went down to weigh myself, and they're like, "Oh, you're 0.1 over of a kilo," so that fucking 0.1, I had to obviously go running. I was trying to do something. I went back, and I think it was in pounds, so it was like 0.3 of a pound or something over. I went out. I went back running. I wasn't sweating. My mouth was all dry. Fucking, it was like the worst 3 hours of my life, and I just wasn't sweating at all. And it was. I kind of think it was because I usually do it in the bath to cut the weight, and the water just wasn't hot enough. It was like warm, but it wasn't hot to sweat. You know what I mean? But yeah. So I eventually got it off, like with 10 minutes to go or something like that. I thought I'd rehydrated. Maybe obviously Jack hits hard, so that could have just been a factor. But again, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses up. But
no, these are real factors. This sort of sport has so many different elements that go on and people don't appreciate. And people call it what you want, but it's a thing. The rehydration is a huge aspect of this, especially when it comes to like taking the damage and all this kind of stuff.
Mm. And obviously, I kind of learned a little mistake from that fight. So that's when I decided to go vegan, stuff like that. My wife and my kids are vegan anyway, so it kind of made sense. So I had to do 2 baths, and that was it, to cut weight. Literally 2 baths. Like, I felt fine. I didn't feel like my eyes were sunken. Like, usually my eyes are all sunken and they look horrific, but I felt like I was fine. That last fight, and I felt like the first round, I totally dominated them in the first round, and he just fucking caught me with this weird back take.
Well,
You know
this
what I mean?
is
It
it.
was
It was
just,
so quick you couldn't even react to that kind of thing.
yeah, the way he did it as well, it was he trapped my arm. So my arm, I obviously went for like a really judo-y takedown with it inside the leg. He ended up spinning around, getting on my back. My arm was trapped in the inside as well, so it was fucking just everything just landed perfect for him. So yeah, it fucking sucks. Like, obviously the mental side of that for me was heartbreaking. You know what I mean? I felt like the best I'd ever felt. I felt the best I'd ever felt for the Jack Cartwright fight. I felt the best I'd ever felt for Jack Shore fight. But you know what I mean? These things happen. But I genuinely still feel like I'm one of the best in the UK, at least. You know what I mean? I know I could beat half of these guys. I know I could on my day. I think I could beat Jack Cartwright as well. You know what I mean? It's just.
I mean, this
Just
is
these
a big
things
reason why I
happen in
wanted to
fighting.
get you on, is to speak to you about this kind of side of things, because when you've got this sort of skill set and this ability, and then you end up coming up short on these sort of big events, is where you go to next. Because obviously, like, 3 back-to-back losses is just, you know, it's not good for anything. It's not good for your ego, not good for your well-being, all this kind of stuff. Is then your next step forward, because you're still the
Yeah.
same Scott who beat Josh Reed with an armbar like straight away in front of his team. You're the same one who like knocked out Adam Adesanya. And it's just these kind of things. You're still that person, and then it's how you then recover from it, because people need to hear it. People need to understand that these things do happen, but it's how you then follow up from it. And yeah, it's just it makes sense from someone who in a bigger spotlight who's, you know, dealt with this and then come out, and then you sort of say on your Instagram that, you know, you're still getting through it, you're still, you know, grinding and stuff. And it's good to hear all this. It's good to hear it in your voice that you're taking it on your stride.
Yeah, like 100%. To be honest, like I would get beat at judo. Like it's just a thing. You would get beat in judo, and then the next week you'd be competing again. It's the same sort of thing. So I'm not going. When I first got beat, I was like fuck that. That's me. I'm done. But then I think that was just a shit attitude to have. Obviously, I think that was just in the moment, and then I started to think about it, and even this lockdown made it even more clear to me that this is what I need to do for a living. Like, because I've not been able to train as much, I'm like really dying to just train and dying to just hit some pads and dying to roll with people, and you know what I mean, just dying to go and spar with people, and like I don't know what I'd do without that in my life. You know what I mean? So it works as sort of a release. I'd obviously, if it came to it and I wasn't training, obviously I've got a gym now, so I'm coaching as well, but it's generally a passion of mine, and I'm never going to stop until I'm unhappy with doing what I'm doing. I'm never going to stop.
How are you finding the balance between coaching and obviously having a family and also being, you know, a full-time professional athlete? How are you finding that all working out?
Yeah, well, to be honest, I've always had something going on. Like I said earlier, I used to coach judo and work scaffolding. So I would scaffold during the day, and then I would coach judo at night, and I would have to train around that as well. So that was very difficult. Then I ended up giving up the coaching just to do the scaffolding, and that was still hard as it is. But now that I've opened the gym, I could train at the same time when I'm coaching people. Not to the extent where I'd like to be, obviously, but I could still do things in the gym. I can get my fitness up. I could do whatever I kind of want. If I want to learn how to take people down, then I could coach a class on that. You know what I mean? And I can drill it myself. So it's a lot better for me.
Do you find
I'd say mentally, physically.
Sorry, there's a bit of a delay, so it keeps on like cutting out. I don't mean to cut you off. Do you keep going, please?
That's right.
Bit of a signal thing.
No, on you go.
I was saying, are you able to implement your judo in your training at the minute? It's like, it's obviously Nogi kind of more Greco style kind of thing. Are you able to do a lot of that? Because I see most of your takedowns are almost from a wrestling base, like a lot of cage work and that kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I think obviously because you've got a gi in judo, it's a lot harder to do like judo things. But when I grew up doing judo, you were able to grab the legs, whereas now you can't grab the legs. You can't pick up the leg at all, or you get disqualified. So that was another thing that sort of made me go away from judo, because that was my game. You know what I mean? I would always do like double legs and like fireman's carry, stuff like that. So I was always more of a kind of wrestler-based judo player, if that made sense. But I love wrestling. I genuinely love to wrestle. I've been obviously over to Team Alpha Male, and standard wrestling out there is amazing. That was one of the reasons why I went out there as well, just to see how my wrestling was against obviously these top guys.
Well, that was my next question, because obviously seeing your Instagram with Cody Garbrandt and all the sort of big names over there. When did you go over there? What camp? What was this? What inspired that?
Well, it'd actually been out before. I think it was my first fight. That was actually that on the Singer fight. I think it was. I was out there. I've been out there 3 times. Only went out for 3 weeks. I'd love to go over for longer. But 3 weeks is pretty much all I could afford at a time. So I can go. I was over there, I think it was 2 years ago, just before the Adam and Singer fight or something like that. And then, no, in fact, I went over there 2 years ago and I trained, and I didn't have a fight. So I went over there the first time just to sort of experience it and see what it was like without having the added pressure of a fight. And I obviously wanted to eat some good American food as well. So
now this brings me on to the most important question of the podcast, most controversial. Are you ready for this? What is your favourite post-fight meal? Don't spare any detail. Professional athletes, professional details. What is your food? Go on.
Post-fight, usually I'd have like a big smelly kebab, but now I don't know what I would even have.
Some vegan katsu curry or something like that. Some sort of Wagamama's.
Yeah, some lettuce. And, but yeah, like when I fought in Cardiff, there's this little kebab shop around the corner, pretty much from the hotel that we stayed. So I would always go there and get like one of these kebabs, and they're so good. So yeah.
Okay, just take us back to pre-vegan days. What sauces are you saying? What's the sort of setup?
Well, I was like garlic and chili sauce. But usually I'd have like a chicken kebab, like a chicken shawarma.
I'm getting hungry now.
Yeah.
Wow, good answer, strong answer. Sorry, so yeah, the American food wise. So say like obviously the American portions and the American style training. What was that all like? Because I had Mason Jones on not too long ago. He's explaining his training out of Alpha Male, and he absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, see, on the flip side of having all this like unhealthy food and all these big massive portions and stuff, there's a lot of things where you can go into like you can go into basically a grocery store, Trader Joe's, and you can buy like good tasting salads. Like, it's not like the shit that you get in Tesco, you know what I mean? It's a proper like salad with like a good like seasonings and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So it actually tastes alright, and you can go to loads of places where there's healthy food and you can buy it just as like a takeout rather than like, you know what I mean, like a Burger King or something like that, you know what I mean?
Oh, decent to be fair. I didn't even know that was even like a proper option to get like a, you know, healthy food and like a relatively quick sort of service. So regardless of where you've trained all over the world, so Alpha Male, where else have you trained or would like to go to?
I've trained a lot of places in Scotland. I'm trying to think where else I've been. I would like to go loads of places, to be honest. I'd really like to fight on one championships. That's kind of been my goal for a while now. And I'd like to go maybe over to Thailand, train over there, or over to like one of these Asian countries and see what it's like over there to train. Obviously not right now, but
no bat soup for you, be alright.
But I think I love the whole culture of like Asia. It's kind of something that's always stuck with me. I think it's obviously the judo, but even like growing up, I used to have like Japanese wallpaper in my room. I used to have obviously with judo, I was always have like something to do with Japan. So I'd like to go out to Japan and train there. Even I would probably throw on a judo kit as well and see what it's like out there to get beat up from all these Japanese guys.
Without like little effort as well. That's the sort of thing you'd really want, that kind of proper cultural experience. Like training like Muay Thai in Thailand and training judo in Japan and all these kind of things. Outside of
I just
fighting,
think
what's your like sort of hobbies and stuff? Do you like reading anything particular? You got certain films you like? What's your like switch off time? What do you do?
yeah, I'll just watch TV. I could watch TV all day really. But when you've got kids, it's kind of impossible. So hobbies, I would say my typical night would be come home from the gym and I'd maybe stick on Netflix. I mean, you can get loads of things on Netflix.
What's your series?
What I've been
What
watching
do you watch?
recently,
What do you watch?
I've been watching The Money Heist. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've heard of it. Apparently, it's really good.
It's in Spanish.
Is it?
It's in Spanish. Yeah, so you can either watch it like dubbed or you can watch it with subtitles. And I never realised that you can do this, but mine was already in English for dubbed. So I was watching it dubbed. And even when it was dubbed, it was still really good. So I think I'm like 3 episodes from the end, something like that. So that's what I've been watching just now. The Money Heist has been really good.
Decent. I've just been binging absolute shit. I started watching Limmy's show as well. It's so absolutely fucking nonsense. I love it. Oh, what was it? I'm losing tangent, completely going off the sort of on-topic MMA stuff to random Netflix sort of waffle and all the rest of it. What is your preference? So say we come out of lockdown, is there anyone current in the Cage Warriors roster that takes your fancy, or do you want to go straight to one champion? What's your ideal sort of?
Well, I'm not. That was my last fight for Cage Warriors as well, so on my contract anyway. So right now, I generally don't know. I've kind of, after this, I've decided that I was going to take a break, and then obviously this lockdown started, so I've not got a choice if I'm taking a break or not. So I don't know. I need to get a good proper sit down with my management, my coaches and stuff, and see where to go from here. And I would like to maybe get a fight in, and then maybe try and get on like a bigger promotion. I don't know how to go about that, obviously, but I think one championships has always sort of been the goal. I just like the way they do things. You know what I mean?
Especially with weight cutting as well. It's definitely like a lot more fighting sort of well-being taken into account.
Yeah, I think now the way I was on the last fight camp, my weight in that, I think I'd probably get down to flyweight for one championships because it's 61 kilos as flyweight, because you need to weigh in hydrated. I think I can get to that just dieting. You know what I mean? So I'd maybe see what the flyweight division is like over there. I don't think I'd be able to make flyweight cutting weight properly. I think it's just that too big a jump. But I definitely think I'd be able to get 6'1".
Would you ever consider doing a like Jujitsu sort of super fight or any kind of grappling competitions in the meantime? Well, obviously when it's back to normal.
That was actually one of the plans as well, just to maybe just do a couple of grappling competitions, just to keep myself busy and keep sort of weight down, and you know what I mean. So I'm not just going mad. And then maybe I was looking to fight maybe towards the end of the year, but I genuinely think if somebody offered me a fight in maybe July, I'd probably take it, to be honest. I don't know.
It is a tricky one. A few things just whilst I've got you before I let you go. Advice to a young fighter, amateur debut. What would you give to someone?
I would say, well, this is what I've told my guys. Like, it's not, especially amateur. It's not about winning or losing. It's about learning. I would say just give it your all, train hard, and no matter the result, you've still got plenty of fights. You know what I mean? So don't let one fight define you.
It's funny you say that. It's because after like my amateur debut, I thought it was the end of the world. That everyone gave a shit about my fight with someone who no one else knows either in a random sports or in the middle of nowhere. Like this is like the be all and end all. Got so much weight behind it. And also, what advice would you give to someone who's had like quite a big loss in the sense of, you know, like a title fight? Like obviously you've, with your situation, what advice would you give to someone else who's experienced that kind of, you know, anticlimax?
Again, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, do what makes you happy at the end of the day. If you're really upset about it and it's going to get you like that every time, then it's maybe not the right sport for you because it's part of the game, winning and losing. You know what I mean? Obviously, especially pros, your record kind of means everything. You know what I mean? That's the way it is at pro, and I think that's why a lot of people pad their records and stuff like that, just so the record looks great. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's fighting in that cage. You know what I mean? You're the one that has to train. You're the one that has to deal with everything mentally, physically. So, just if you have lost and if you're still enjoying it, then keep going. What's stopping you?
Perfect. Scott, you've been an absolute gentleman. Do you want to shout out your sponsors and anyone else listening? Anyone you want to
probably I'd just like to say thanks to all my sponsors. I'll tag them in it after it because I'll probably forget one and they'll be mad at me. But I am actually looking for maybe a fightwear brand to get on board. If you do want to get on board, then give me a shout. Because I did have Python Fighting, but they've kind of went under the bus now. Although Grant was a great guy and he's honestly done loads for me and gave me loads of stuff, but I now don't have a fightwear, so I'm going to need to pay for gloves and stuff, which I don't like.
Fantastic, mate. Thank you so much for coming on. Stay safe. And where can people find you?
Thank you. Sorry?
Where can people find you on social media?
Oh, sorry, mate. They can find me on Instagram as Scotty_boom, and on Twitter is Scott Malone 265. I think, I'm pretty sure. Facebook Scott Boom Malone. That's my athlete page.
Perfect. Cheers, mate. Take care and stay safe.
Thank you very much. Cheers.